have a new album coming, and I'm super excited and so grateful that I have my icon pianist to perform my piano works of my lifetime works for the piano.
Oh, well, they're great works, so I'm a fan.
I think they're very athletic. A lot of them technically demanding, and also very intellectual. Some of the pieces they need a very mature artist with experience to digest all the essence in the work, and I'm just so happy I found someone that maybe we share the same thing.
Yes, and it's so great to work with the composer, because I remember doing Solace, and there was that part that I didn't quite understand, and you mentioned snowfall, and this kind of freedom, and it just made a lot of sense.
It's especially sort of captivating if it's in the context of the album to be surrounded by so many sort of high energy tracks, to then have a piece that's kind of a little bit more come here, where you have to kind of lean in a little bit more to to sort of hear the whisper of it.
I also like nature a lot, and snow and rain and sun and moon. All this are so natural to us, cannot be overlooked, especially right now in our ecosystem, and everything is so precious.
When you write music that's technically demanding, that's one of the problems. You have to have a really good instrument.
Yeah, working with Christina, as soon as I got into the control room, we started getting sounds, and this particular piece, or pieces that Alice had written, they were really dynamic. So right from the get-go, that can create its own kind of issues. You've got just the tuning of the piano and capturing the sound of the piano too, and it's being hit so hard, because she did play it with, and I'm surprised with those small little hands that your little fingers can make the piano sound as big as it did, but that was very impressive to hear.
All these pieces has that kind of vitality and brilliance. So yeah, it's very athletic, and at the same time also, as Christina described, also requires some deep studying. Before you actually put all the notes together, you actually study the score and see what the thoughts of trend and all the focal points. This program is very difficult.
Cyclone is you don't have to describe anything, and that's almost good, because then the music, you leave a lot of space open for the music to sort of tell you the rest,
Blaze, being the title track, is probably the toughest piece to play. It's a real finger cruncher, and if you haven't got a Christina Petrowska Quilico there to do it for you, you might as well give up, because it's not going to happen.
Blaze is one of my earlier piano work. Is very virtuosic and full of vibrancy, and I mean, as the title describes, is I would imagine brilliant colors. It's almost like the sun. Actually, not the sunrise, more like a brilliant sunset on the lake. You can see all this purple, all this oranges colors, and I want to capture in the music. So this is the theme of Blaze. And coincidentally, when I know Christina not too long ago, I admire her painting, and there's so many of painting resonance with Blaze.
It's really astonishing in terms of like having so many large-scale piano works, because I think what the earliest piece was from the '90s, and the most recent piece is like a year ago or something. Like this, like it spans a pretty long stretch of time, and they're all so big, at least in terms of the impression they give me, right? And that's just her piano work, right? So I think Alice is very prolific. She's done operas, she's done orchestral things, she's done all kinds of things, and the album though has a kind of interesting through line, right? Like I feel like all of the piano pieces have this kind of like super high energy. It's a virtuoso album, right? Which makes very good sense that Christina would be such a perfect fit for it, because she's a virtuoso pianist, right? And I think that just is such a perfect marriage of energy, right?
Like with Aeon, sometimes when I was practicing, all I would think about is to get the right notes at that tempo. So it takes time to be able to then realize what her idea was. I mean, the piece is based on Salvador Dali surrealism. So once I got the technique up, then I could find images and moods to kind of make my performance equal to what she would like to hear.
Alice, I think, was very excited by the whole idea of how fluid music and sound and performance can be, and especially when, again, you use the full range of the piano. Here you see it scored over 4 staves.
So we were talking about sort of the low energy being harder to articulate because it's so, the sustains are so long, they can crowd. Right, from a mixing standpoint, anything that's low, if you have a lot of it, gets rumbly. So this was almost like, almost as Alice is saying, I dare you to take on the challenge, right? Because the pedal is down a lot. There's also a lot of low rumble, very fast low stuff happening. And there's also just big, giant impact chords, right? That will just ride for a long time. But I think, I think Christina sort of saw the challenge. She's like, yep, but I'm still gonna make this work. And I think you can kind of hear there's just enough brightness in a lot of those figures that it still comes out of the fog that's intentional, right? And I think that there's something exciting about that, right? It's like, it's like man versus element or nature or something, right? Where there's like the, this big thing that you have to climb out of, and then it seems impossible, but you do it. And I think that tension is a big part of what makes it attractive to me.
I have to thank my teachers at Juilliard, because they would yell, and say, get over yourself. It's all about the music. And you have to make, especially with contemporary music, if you play Chopin, nobody's going to boo unless you're really bad, mm-hmm. But people know Chopin, they like it. But if you're presenting a new piece, I always feel that you need to go beyond because you're sometimes playing it for the first time, and if you don't do a good job, they won't blame you necessarily, they'll blame the composer. Then I'll live with the guilt, right?
We inherited from the 20th century a revolution in writing for the piano. You know, John Cage's pieces for prepared piano, where he would put you know, erasers and bolts and, you know, wooden and metal and various materials in a very kind of intended placement, so that rather than touch key get note, it would be touch key get bam or bop or ooh.
You know, you work on each one, and while you're playing it, you want to believe that that's your favorite as you're playing it. So I find it difficult. I mean, I enjoy playing Cyclone because it's virtuose. I can, you know, I get to flex my muscles there. But I also love to play the soft pieces, and I mean, Erupting Skies was really exciting. I love Amelia Earhart and all the different quotes of hers and how it mixed in with the music was very exciting. Yeah, I can't pick a favorite. Every piece was great.
I think the thing that's very impressive to me for this whole project is that this is the kind of music that can sound difficult, even when you play it all very well. And because Christina is such a virtuoso, she's able to make it not sound difficult. But she's also careful to not have made it sound too easy, because then you lose the edge of your seat sort of energy, right? So there's enough anxiety in there, but she's so confident, and it's so easy that you get to enjoy, right, the excitement of it.
You can't prepare a piece so perfectly, because then it feels controlled. So I think that's also the challenge, that it sounds like you're playing it with a freedom and with depth, and you know, depending on the circumstances, because we're human beings, we're not like computers. We can't play it the same way twice.
Mm-hmm. And I think Christina is a great creator in that way as well. Besides, like, we create a work, but actually it's at the hand of the performers to recreate what we have put on the paper. And I think Christina has done so much work, I mean, in the preparation, and she can let go at the performance. I think this is ultimately what we dream of for any performers, to elevate the work.
Yeah.